Welcome to Elevate with Elsner. Join us for inspiring conversations with individuals who have transformed their lives and are making a difference through the work that they do. And now, here's your host, Blake Elsner.
Boom. We don't even have Sebastian. We got to add him to the stage. There he is, my man, Sebastian. Welcome to the first ever live episode of Elevate with Elsner. I couldn't be more excited to kick things off with a truly incredible person. He obviously is the creator, the mind, the brains behind the absolute Elevate with Elsner powerhouse we have going. He's a keynote speaker. He's a comedian. He's a podcaster. This guy's got it all going on. So we're going to dive into his little brain and we're going to pick out what his top things or his untold truths of podcasting are. So this guy knows how to light up a room, fire up a crowd. Let's go, Sebastian Rusk. Please join and welcome him to the show. What's up, Sebastian?
Yo, yo, yo. Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
Oh, it's on. It's on, baby.
Yeah. I'm trying to go live here. I'm trying to be like you. I'm trying to go live here.
Yeah.
Bunch of logistics they got me going on over here.
Yeah, you got to type in your name a few times, your email.
You got to log in. They want my social, driver's license number. It's like a little much here.
They wanted your last bet too. I think.
Place your bets.
It was a horse.
We're gonna go live here on Facebook. There we go. Let's see.
You can go live on
Facebook. Your destination. It says. What do you know? What do you know? Not connected here, but this is your first podcast going live, huh?
Yeah, this is the first one going live. But you see me live on here all the time. So we're live across StreamYard, FaceBat, LinkedIn.
Yep.
YouTube, Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Looks like
Good.
Sebastian. You got your live.
I'm going live too.
Facebook?
I'm going live. We're live all over the place.
All right. Well, the first thing first, everyone knows when you have a podcast, you just become immediately rich.
That's a fat lie.
Oh,
and I'm not calling you fat.
No.
Yeah. I don't know why my StreamYard isn't live. This is why I don't go live on podcasts. Oh, I am. Just kidding. There we are. We are.
Live. All right.
We're live. All right.
Yeah, the only one that it's a little different. You're gonna have a little different time on Instagram because got to copy that stream key. It's a little confusing sometimes.
Yes, sir. So I'm glad you're wearing clothing. Well, you're usually live. You're not. You barely have any clothes on. It's weird.
Well, yeah. Well, luckily Lottie got her tubes today. I was at the hospital twice, different ear infections. I found this hoodie in the lost and found, so I put it on.
Did you really? That's nice. It looks like I was going to say, did you lose a bet? But that explains it, actually.
Actually, you want to see who's on the side of it? It's Larry. That's Larry Bird, French Lick, Indiana, right there.
Oh yeah, fellow Hoosier, Hoosier.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We're dealing with.
What's he doing these days, Larry Bird?
That's a good question. I was kind of wondering the same thing when we put this on a hoodie and went and played golf. I'm like, what is this guy doing?
He's probably doing just that, playing golf. I know MJ's playing a lot of golf these days.
Yeah, is he going to be Belichick's assistant? Maybe we're Larry Bird and Belichick. Oh, how about that?
No, you got your sports mixed up there. Get your sports mixed up.
Oh, what? Is that
I don't think Larry Bird can coach football.
Table tennis.
Ready?
No, probably not.
He was like the only good white guy in the NBA ever.
My father-in-law played professional basketball, so over in Greece.
He's no Larry Bird.
No, he's not. I tell him that all the time. I'm like, you really
My mom was obsessed with Larry Bird. She's probably watching right now, probably thinking, oh, he was so neat.
Is she on a cruise?
No, she's not on a cruise. No, we just got back from one. There's a hot dog joint here called Arbetters. It's been here for like 100 years. It's real small, typical little hot dog joint, like 3 tables inside. The cook with a bad attitude. They got the whole lineup, chili dogs, everything's fried. I mean, you just feel the heart attack the second you walk in, and they give you free refills on your soda pop. Very Midwest to me there. If you say Larry Bird, if you don't say Larry Bird, you got to pay 50 cents. So, and they got Larry Bird paraphernalia. Wait, no, that's not the word.
Paraphernalia. That's what you got arrested with back in college.
Memorabilia all over the place. No correlation because it's Miami. It's just random. But yeah, a little hot dog joint. We like hot dog joints because I'm from Indiana, and in Indiana there's this place called the B&K, and they make their own chili dog sauce. It's not really chili, and it's like a hybrid between like a manwich and like a real light chili. I don't know what they do, man, but they got their own root beer. They sell it in a gallon jug. I don't know there are drugs in that root beer because it is good stuff. I haven't had one since God spoke to Moses, but
wow,
joints. They do have a little hot dog action here at Arbetters, but it's just your normal fountain type deal.
At Arbetters, wow, hot dogs. I didn't know.
What is it? Mug root beer? Mug root beer. Yeah, I'm a dad's kind of guy.
Yeah. All right. I kind of want to jump into this about the podcast stuff, because I know you got a lot of information about podcasts. I started my podcast through you. I thought I would last one episode, and then you just kept poking me from behind. Not like that.
Whoa.
Just kept pushing me to, pump out those episodes. And here we are. I think this is episode 18, and I'm just cruising. It's fun. I've found my voice. I've practiced a lot of skills.
You sound great.
True marketing tool. Like I the connections, it's pretty impressive. But I want to hear from you, because nobody wants to listen to me. Okay, they want to hear from you. So tell us, about the untold truths of podcasting, because obviously you sign up, you do one episode, and you're rich. Like I said.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and a lot of people don't understand that or take that into consideration, where we live in this world of instant gratification, and anything meaningful, whether it's content online or offline, anything meaningful and worthwhile doing is going to take some time, because you've got to hone in on your craft, and you've got to, figure out who you get to become through that whole process. So what we teach here, as you know, is that podcasting allows you to step into a completely different version of yourself, which you just got done sharing. It also gives you the opportunity to network and interview people that you want to do business with. So it's a new networking tool. And then the third part of that is that it's a content tool. It allows you to have conversations with people, create content from those conversations, and be consistent when you're showing up in the newsfeed, because let's face it, that's where the eyeballs are at these days. So I firmly believe that podcasting will radically change your life and your business if you let it. And I feel qualified to talk about that, because I've lived that. I continue to live that. And then I also empower other people just like you to do the same exact thing. So it works if you work it.
For over 15 years too, right? You've been building these podcasts.
Yeah. It started in 2010 when I first started, and I wanted to get in front of guys like Gary Vaynerchuk and people that were in the space early on that no one knew about. And what a better way to get in front of people than to interview them. I was on Blog Talk Radio, and that was my first means of having some form. It was more of an online internet radio show, but I quickly realized, wow, I can take the RSS feed from that and put it on SoundCloud, which is an audio platform mainly for music. And I can then, once I have it on SoundCloud, I can push it out to Apple and to Spotify. And well, not at that time, wasn't Spotify, but at least Apple. And I'd have a podcast, but I didn't care about any of the rest of those logistics. I just knew that if I want to get in front of you, I'm like, hey man, let's get you on the podcast. Let's get you on the show, whatever it may be. So I started off, I was very inconsistent with it. I just utilized it when I needed it, when I needed to meet somebody, when I needed to get in front of somebody. So I wasn't as consistent with my own personal podcasting efforts until I started to go all in with podcasting, which was in circa 2016. And, who am I to sell you a podcast solution? And I'm not even consistent with my own podcast. So to remove the hypocrisy from the equation, I rebranded my show for the third time to Beyond the Story, and continued to stay the course on interviewing people that I want to do business with. But, it is the ultimate networking tool. That's for sure. I just realized that my team's going to have a good time editing this, because they're going to be like, wait a second. We know both.
That's why the first live one where I did you, because Now you can't bitch about it, Or can we
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that on here? I don't even know.
It's your podcast.
Yeah, my podcast. It's my.
If you want to use a foul mouth on your podcast, that's entirely up to you. I don't give a shit.
My gosh. Well, how did you even start in the podcast? Like, what made you go, man, I want a podcast?
Well, I hated what I was doing. So I was doing, we had a digital agency handling social media content and then online media. And I was more of like an online personality of sorts, or at least I thought. And I wanted to get out of doing that. I was an event MC, and I owned the digital agency, but I hated the work. It was very labor intensive. You always had to get out there. You're always helping the clients create the content. I wanted to move away from that. And in 2016, went through just a revolutionary program for myself, personal development program that really helped me better understand what was really going on with me. It allowed me to heal a bunch of stuff that I needed to get healed, and also, love myself and step into what I was designed to do. And coming out of that, I knew that it was time to get back to work. That was the latter part of 2016 that I did that. I met a girl. She introduced me to a course. She broke up with me in the middle of it. I got done with the course, came out completely different and renewed. It was like, it's time to go back to work. And when I decided to get up and go rent a co-working desk, I ran into a friend of mine, and she had an internet radio show. And I said, so what's up with this whole internet radio show thing? And she's like, hi. I'm like, how's it going? And she said, oh, it's going great. I'm like, well, how do you know? She's like, well, but yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm not really convinced. You could have a podcast, right? She's like, I don't know how to start a podcast. Can you help me start a podcast? And I was like, actually, I can't. Cause I was trying to figure out how to get out of the digital space, but still stay in it, as much of an oxymoron as that was. But I wanted to get out of, there were social media managers popping up all over the place. And I'm just like, low barrier to entry position with social media managers. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but I don't go where the masses go. I'm blazing my own trail to figure out how I can create a unique value proposition that's my own. And while podcasting is not mine, in 2016, not everyone knew about podcasting. So I had the unique advantage of helping people to better understand what's possible with it by educating, motivating, differentiating the world of podcasting through what I was doing and what I was providing. Now, I had a lot of pushback too. It's like, nobody wants a podcast. What are you doing? Nobody knows what a podcast is. And, we're going into year 9 here, and we've created a multiple seven figure, thinking out loud here, multiple 6-figure business. And we're not stopping and slowing down by any stretch of the imagination. And the podcast industry is expected to be a $130 billion a year industry by 2030. That's in 5 years. That's like going to be here tomorrow. So I'm staying in my lane and continuing to ride the wave of what I'm doing. But what I get to experience through the work that I do makes all the work worth it. Somebody told me a long time ago that money is a byproduct of doing what you love. And I never understood that until I started doing what I love. So, yeah, I'm all in when it comes to podcasting, but that's pretty much how everything came to be. And, here we are going into year 9. Is my math correct? 2016, 2025. Yeah. Year 9. Well, yeah. LinkedIn just told me, congratulations on 8 years. So
they're sharp. That's a sharp app. Facebook,
I posted, we were celebrating 7 years. Fire that up, everybody. And everyone was all excited, and it was just wrong. It's 8 years. That's all good. I can't count.
Yeah, you can't. But I'm going to flip 5 what I'm calling untold truths, and I want you to just elaborate on these. All right. So truth 1, it's harder than it looks.
Oh, yeah. Takes work, which most people don't want to do.
The work behind the scenes, or,
just consistency. Wanting to stay consistent with, I don't know, keeping your word and doing what you say you're going to do. Imagine that.
So like my little squish stress ball, when I wrote start a podcast on it at McChesney's Builders of Authority event.
Yeah. That your dog ate. I love that. That was a great, I love that. That you made a declaration. You said, I'm starting a podcast because I said I'm going to start a podcast, and nobody's getting in the way of doing that. Here's what's happening because I said that I was going to do. The power of declaration. I mean, I did the same exact thing when I started the podcast company. I'm starting a podcast company because I said that I'm starting a podcast company. The end.
And the only person in your way was yourself.
Correct. Which is as is life.
And that's exactly why I kept showing up. I'm like, get the hell out of my own way. So truth number 2, your first few episodes will not be perfect.
No, they're going to suck. That's part of the process. When you start doing anything, you're not out of the gates awesome. When you first started playing baseball, where you were telling me stories of how you used to strike out on T-ball. I was like, gosh, I thought I was bad. I was always just scared of the baseball, like terrified of that thing come flying through. I'm standing in the batter's box, just shaking in my shorts, and I'm like paranoid of that. And those balls hurt.
Yeah, bet they do. I bet they do. All right, so we'll move past that. Truth number 3: it's not just about downloads.
No, it's about who you get to become as a human being. It's about the connections that you get to make by having a podcast. These are kind of fun. How many you got of these? Let's keep firing these.
I got 5. Away. There's only 2 left, so you better elaborate a little.
You better pull up 5 more. Chat GPT. Yeah.
And we're gonna go truth 4. It's gonna test. Well, you already said this one. It's gonna test your consistency because you got to show up at least multiple times. A month.
Yeah. You just need to stick to your word and commit to what you said you were going to do, and that is half the battle, in my opinion.
It's the hardest part, just showing up. Yeah. All right, I only have one more. Truth number 5: podcasting is a marathon, not a sprint.
It definitely is. I mean, I've been doing this 14 years, and the amount of opportunities that have been created here. I'm not a top million download podcast, type of show. My show is not designed for that. My show is designed to build relationships, to make me a better communicator, and to hopefully convert the people that I get to have conversations with on my podcast into podcasters. That's the goal.
In the relationship part, you're very, very good at that. And that's what you pulled out of me. And I've been able to connect with people in a completely different way. And it's been pretty fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's people, even if they're becoming more aware, rather, should I say, that, obviously this guy's asking me to be on his podcast because he wants to sell me a podcast. So what? You're still getting on a podcast. And guess what? You've still got the opportunity to say no if it doesn't work for you or it's not a fit. So it's not like there's anything that is standing in the way of getting someone on the podcast that you may or may not want to do business with. And if you're on the receiving end of that and you're being asked to be on the show because you are a prospect, who cares?
It's true. And I the relationship part is such a big thing to me because when you solidify those relationships, it seems like the rest of the stuff just kind of falls into place.
Correct.
Well, so the power of your voice, obviously, when people hear you, your voice, it travels. It travels real far.
But, it's like a strip club DJ.
Yeah, yeah. America's pub. Yeah. So when
gentlemen, get your dollar bills ready. My mother listens to this show.
That's some PTSD right there. So yeah. Ooh, brother.
Her name is Chastity.
How did you create a voice like that? A voice for radio or a face for radio?
Well, I got a face for radio that second to none. My dad was a DJ for 30 years, and I guess I just adapted his vocal cords. So, and it's evolved. I think our voice it deepens as the older that we get, which is cool. So before I
think you have to work on it.
Mickey Mouse. You do. And there's articulation and there's what we refer to as pacing and tonality and the power of the pause and different ways of articulating your voice for sure.
Yeah. And that's one thing I use this podcast is like a practice arena for me to do all those things. So when I go out into the real world, even though this is the real world, I'm sharper. I'm, a little more in tune and it just kind of flows better. Like you don't have to put as much effort into the life part. It just kind of flows out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so yeah, obviously when you do podcasts too, you get the content creation, and that's a big part as well. Like having that mix of where when it goes out on all these platforms, you get the reels, and I get an audiogram from you. So explain how big that is.
Well, I think most of us don't know what to post on a daily basis anyway. You're not posting on behalf of yourself. You're not posting on behalf of your business. You're not doing any of those things to move the needle down. The field. Does the needle move down the field? The ball move down the field? Wherever the needle
moves.
Yeah, there we go. And having a podcast solves a lot of those problems. One podcast episode, multiple pieces of multiple pieces of content to post on social media. That is eliminating the fact of, I don't know what to post today, or so it markets the show. It gives you something to post. It markets and edifies your guest as well. So that's the real meat and potatoes, I think, of being able to have a podcast and repurpose the content.
Yeah, and I kind of joke, it's like my golf game. Like unfortunately we're in the Midwest. You're in lovely Miami where you can golf pretty much year round.
Oh, I'm playing here, Friday.
Yeah. Must be nice. I think it's gonna be 38 probably here. But so when you can, connect with people on a podcast, and I consider it like inviting somebody to go golf. I get to bring them on, I get to connect with them, talk with them, and we play a little sport, which I call conversation.
Right. Exactly. Right. I never thought about it like a golf. I mean, a 4-hour podcast episode might be a little much, but
yeah, I mean, we can only commentate on 18 holes for so long.
Right.
But no, like, it's like that's
podcasting 9 holes, transfusions.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. But no, it really is. It's like, I'm able to connect with people, I feel like, in a shorter amount of time, in a very a space that feels, I don't want to say secure, but it's safe. And instead of having to, go out and leave your house or go grab golf clubs, you can just sit down and pretty much do this wherever. Like, you don't have to have a golf course, right? So I find this as not just, a marketing tool, but it is a hobby. I enjoy it. And like I said, I'm connecting with so many people, and that's the biggest thing for me. It's a relationship thing, and I love talking to people, and that.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, again, there's a multi-prong approach with it. And I think that's just the beautiful part about it. There's not a lot of other content out there that has, multiple benefits to actually doing it.
Yeah, that's true. And the whole having the week scheduled out, how you do it for me. And I Monday, or my release day is Wednesdays now, but I have, the audiograms one day, I can do a reel the next day, and I can do another reel the day after, or I could, do an audiogram and a reel on Instagram, vice versa, and whatnot. So I am able to, every single week, as long as I show up, I'm able to have content pretty much for half the week.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I love that part about it. I've been on a podcast rampage the past couple of weeks because I just joined a new mastermind group, and my way of meeting new people when I'm the new guy is, hey, let's get you on the podcast. And it works really well. In fact, I'm able to convert a lot of those people over to agency clients, which is always a plus as well.
Yeah, and I thought, starting a podcast, I thought it'd be easy work. It's not. The one thing that is easy is the equipment. Like, you don't have to have, fancy stuff like this. This microphone that's in front of me is the first one you told me to get, and I joke, it sounds better than the Shure mics.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, Shure is the best. It's like, that's this one right here. I'm not bragging or anything, but I've had this equipment for years, though. I bought the Shure like a couple years ago, but I've had the Rodecaster since it came out.
Sure you did.
So, sure you did. Yeah. Fell off the back of a truck.
Yeah, and the Vocaster, I use that at RFC, where I do the in-person stuff on, and those are Shure mics, and they're very similar, but it's a completely different setup, complete different ball game. And, you're one that's, you're going to tell people, hey, you don't have to leave the house. And I think you're probably like, I think I'm going to leave the house a little more now, aren't you?
Yeah. I try to go to the grocery store as much as possible now because I'm like, oh, what do you know? I'm home again. But it's okay. I like to mix it up. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. Like I go back and forth between, this will be my 5th studio that I'm going to build, and it's in my house this time, which the other ones have been co-working spaces or executive suites, like Regis and stuff like that, where you can go in and you can rent an office, a 10 by 11 or 11 by 14 office. And I convert that into a podcast studio, which ends up being my creative space. And then I quickly realized, getting people in any physical location these days is a bit of a challenge. So closing this last studio, I had to move because they sold the floor and they're kicking all the executive suites out. I at the same time was like, I really need this. So I'm kind of excited to have the studio at the house. I'm on the road a lot, thankfully. So having everything as a one-stop shop, I'm pretty stoked about. But yeah, the downside would be you're home all the time.
Yeah, but you're able to connect with people so often. And one thing that I respect a lot out of your teachings is pretty much how you basically just make you go through like the runs. Like you don't, like, in a way you kind of wanted me to have a bad episode, or you wanted me to have a terrible looking backdrop to start, because that's kind of how I was growing. And
Correct.
It's kind of like you just kind of, I didn't realize, I'm like, what's this guy doing? Like, he's just kind of letting me just kind of just fly away. Like, but you had your reins and you realized like how to do it. And now here I am, like, figured out a lot of stuff on my own because of your training or how you present your business, which is the podcast launch lab.
Yep. I mean, again, eventually you gotta push the bird out of the nest and let it fly. If I sat there and held hands forever, it doesn't it doesn't serve anybody. But that's why we work pretty close together for the first 30 days, and after that, you're pretty much off into recording land to be able to go record those first episodes and get them squared away.
Yeah, and then once you get those first few episodes, like, I got way ahead, and then I started to slow down. And I think that's one thing I would tell people: don't slow down. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a mistake in terms of guidance, where you're like, no, don't slow down. You need to keep going. You can never get too far ahead.
Sure.
Unless you're going to drop dates every episode.
Right. And you're course correcting. You'll be back onto the, nonstop recording, which is the idea. Is like, what do you want to do? Let's record an episode. That's the idea.
Yeah. And I think I got so comfortable with it. At first it was kind of like, oh, I have to do this. And now it's kind of fun. So I'm like,
yeah, you get to do this.
Yeah, I get
we don't have to do anything. We get to do it though,
Change the have to get, and I get to pay bills.
That's it.
You'll enjoy it.
Exactly. That is it, my friend. So, I just love what you've done so far with the show, dude. I think 2025 is going to be real good for you. I think we're going to have a lot more stories to share with what you've done, with the podcast. You even got the wifey. Shout out to Cass on the show, talking about her IVF journey. And I think she's been on a couple times, hasn't she?
Yeah, and we're dealing with, we got sicknesses over here. She's sick. We got Lottie's sick. Mac is sick. But yeah, she's been on. She talked about that IVF, and we went through that, and it was fun. And we connected even stronger. Like, it's strange that I would say, like, we've been married for whatever, since 2018. We've been together since 2015. And, doing that podcast episode, it was kind of like we were dating for the first time. Like, it was fun.
Aww.
Yeah, I know, right? It was cute. Sorry.
Adorable.
I know. 30,000 comedians out of a job, and we're stuck with Sebastian. But yeah. So I just wanted to bring you on here to talk about podcasts, because I truly think there's a lot of people out there with voices, because we all have one, right?
Yep.
And people don't like to talk, don't like to bring their voice to light. And it's because there's only one reason, and it's because of what Billy or Joe or Karen's going to think about what you have to say.
Well, it could be a lot of our old shit too, which is, something we experienced in the past that our subconscious has carried with us. We were in the school play and we came out, we forgot our lines and everybody started laughing at us. And then, our uncle told us that we're a shitty actor and we carried that with us forever. And now we have stage fright and fear of public speaking, which most people do. But if you've got a fear of public speaking, a fear of speaking on a platform in front of a camera, on a microphone, on a stage, in front of a group, whatever it might be, starting a podcast is the expressway out of that fear. Because someone's missing out because you're not showing up.
Boom, right there. And what's interesting when you say someone's missing out, there's people I reach out to and I'm like, you want to tell your story? And they're like, no, I don't think I want to. And I'm like, well, you're being selfish. And they're like, what?
Yeah, I like that. You should tell them that. I like that. Yeah. You are being selfish. You're a taker. Taker sounds better than selfish.
Quit holding back information.
Yeah, you're withholding information and you're a taker.
That loss you had is going to help somebody else.
Correct.
Win.
Exactly. Your current experience, your story right now will be someone else's survival guide. That's very cliche and overused. And I'm sure it's been said on a podcast before, but it's important to mention again because it's true.
And you know what they say? Sometimes the truth hurts more than a lie, right?
Well, the truth will set you free, but first it'll really piss you off.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's kind of hard to do the podcast interview style when you're on live like this. Like I almost feel like I'm talking too much, you know what I mean? So this is it's an interesting way to do a podcast, but I kind of enjoyed the live part.
Yeah, live's cool. Live's cool. As soon as you get it all dialed in and everything works and it's copacetic. And another good way to do it is Instagram Live. Of course, you don't have all of your equipment and all that jazz because you got to go from your phone. But there's mics you can mic up to your phone as well. You can go live with people, which is a real easy way to get people on your podcast, especially if they have a larger audience than you.
All right. Are you talking about yourself? Is that what?
No, I'm not at all.
Yeah. I thought you were just implying yourself, but yeah, we'll just pass over that one. But where should everyone connect with you if they want to start a podcast besides listening to Vine? Where should they go?
There's an app called Grinder. You can
bail.
Cancel, clear, delete. You can find me on Instagram at Podcast Suck. At Podcast Suck. That's 2 S's. Podcast plural. All my links are in my bio. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, there's a link in there to book a call with me. I'd be happy to jump on, chat with you about what's possible, share my experience a little bit more, share a little bit more about Blake's experience as well. But the time is right now. If you're telling yourself, a podcast is on the chalkboard for 2025. You've already started your bullshit. So just stop it right now because the time is right now to start figuring this out so you can hit the ground running in January with a podcast in your arsenal as your number one marketing tool to be able to get out there, build relationships, become a better communicator, double down on your content strategy, all of the above. And that's just some podcast gospel right there, y'all.
And just like that, he shuts the gospel right on us.
It. Let's go, Cubbies.
Let's go, Cardinals. So, in the Blues tonight. So, going forward, anybody reach out to Sebastian because, like I said, he got me hooked up. I don't want to say I
thought you were going to say hooked on cocaine. I'm like, we weren't going to bring that up on.
No, you got a bunch of links. Just don't click that last link, just in case, because you don't want that to come up.
Wow.
But yeah, the podcast launch.
Is that the gag ball pick? That's the gag ball pick.
But I gotta say, you did send me this book right here.
Something amazing's about to happen. Shout out to Peter Cal and the one and only Caitlin O'Toole.
All right.
Yeah, great book, by the way. We'll link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll link that to the show notes. All right, we're signing off. So the Untold that's kind of a tongue twister. Untold truths. Untold truths.
Untold truths.
Untold truths are hard. They're hard, okay? But the rewards are worth it, right? The untold truths. I can't even say it. The untold truths are hard, but the reward is so worth it.
Very true.
Keep elevating your voice, right?
That's it. Oh, I like that. Is that the end there? Keep elevating that voice.
Keep elevating.
Elevating with Elsner.
Keep digging down and finding that voice. We're out of here.
Place your bets. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get updates as new episodes become available. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review and tell your friends about the show. Until next time,